There is a strange contradiction inside human nature. We say we want freedom. We say we want to live authentically. We say we want to follow our own path. Yet, many people spend most of their lives silently asking one question: what will other people think of me? A person wakes up in the morning. Before the day even begins, the mind is already negotiating with invisible judges. How do I look? Will people respect me? Will they notice my mistakes? Will they think I'm successful? The strange thing is, these judges do not even live inside our homes. They are not standing in front of us. They are not controlling our bodies. Yet somehow, they influence our choices. A person changes their personality to be accepted. They hide their opinions to avoid criticism. They chase achievements not because they love the journey, but because they want recognition at the destination. Slowly, something happens. They stop asking, what kind of life do I want? And they begin asking, what kind of life will make people approve of me? This is one of the oldest struggles of being human, the desire to belong, long before modern society existed, before social media, before public attention, before people measured success through numbers and followers. Humans already carried the need to be accepted. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on belonging. A human separated from the group was vulnerable. A person rejected by the community faced danger. The human mind learned something. Being accepted feels safe. Being rejected feels threatening. And even though the world has changed, the ancient mechanism inside the human mind remains. Today, rejection may not mean physical danger, but the brain often reacts as if it does. A negative comment, a criticism, a person ignoring us, a moment of embarrassment. These small events can create a reaction inside us that feels much larger than the event itself. Why? Because human beings are not only affected by reality, we are affected by the meaning we attach to reality. A stranger says, "You are not good enough." Those words are only sounds, nothing more. But the mind transforms those sounds into a story. Maybe they are right, maybe I am a failure, maybe I will never succeed, and suddenly, a sentence from another person becomes a prison built inside our own mind. The Stoic philosophers understood this thousands of years ago. They recognized a fundamental truth about human suffering. We are often disturbed not only by what happens, but by the judgments we create about what happens. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, taught that we must separate what is within our control from what is outside our control. What is within our control? Our choices, our actions, our attitude, our response. What is outside our control? The opinions of others, their emotions, their judgments, their reactions. Yet many people spend their entire lives trying to control the second category. They try to control how everyone sees them. They try to control every impression. They try to prevent every misunderstanding, and this creates exhaustion. Imagine holding a glass of water. Holding it for a minute feels easy. Holding it for an hour becomes uncomfortable. Holding it for a whole day becomes painful. The glass did not become heavier. The problem is not the weight. The problem is how long we refuse to put it down. The same happens with other people's opinions. One comment may not destroy you. One judgment may not break you, but carrying thousands of imagined judgments every day, that becomes a burden. Many people are not tired because life is impossible. They are tired because they are constantly performing happiness, performing success, performing confidence, performing a version of themselves that they believe others will accept. But a performance requires energy, and eventually the person becomes exhausted from pretending to be someone they are not. There is a story about a man who spent decades building an image. He wanted everyone to believe he was successful. He worked harder than anyone around him. He collected achievements. He chased status. He wanted the people who once doubted him to finally admit that he had value from the outside. People admired him. They saw confidence. They saw success. They saw someone who had everything. But inside, he was still fighting the same battle he had when he was young, the battle of needing approval. The problem was not that he achieved too much. The problem was that he was trying to use achievements to answer a question that achievements could never answer. Am I enough? No amount of praise can permanently heal a person who does not believe in their own worth, because external approval is temporary. It comes, it goes, it changes. One day people celebrate you, another day they forget you. If your identity depends on their attention, your peace will always be unstable. The Stoics would ask a deeper question: why give another person power over your inner world? Why allow someone else's thoughts to decide whether your day is good or bad? A person who insults you does not enter your mind unless you open the door. Their words may arrive, but you decide whether they stay. Think of yourself as a fortress. A strong fortress does not collapse because someone outside dislikes it. The walls stand because the foundation is strong. Your foundation is not built from compliments. It is built from understanding yourself. When you know your values, when you know your direction, when you know what matters, the noise from outside becomes quieter. Not because people stop talking, they never will, but because you stop depending on their voices to tell you who you are. The greatest freedom is not making everyone respect you. That is impossible. The greatest freedom is reaching a point where you no longer need everyone to respect you in order to respect yourself. Because the world will always have opinions. Some people will misunderstand you, some people will judge you, some people will never see your effort. But a tree does not stop growing because someone dislikes its branches. The ocean does not stop moving because someone complains about the waves. The sun does not stop shining because someone closes their window. Nature does not ask permission to exist, and perhaps humans must learn the same lesson. The question is not, how can I make everyone approve of me? The deeper question is, who am I when nobody is watching, praising, or judging me? Because the moment you discover that person, you begin to experience true freedom.
There is a quiet way that people lose themselves. It does not happen in one dramatic moment. There is no sudden announcement, no obvious warning. It happens slowly. A small adjustment here, a small compromise there, a decision made not from conviction, but from fear. At first, it feels harmless. You choose something because people around you approve. You avoid something because people might criticize. You change a little because you want to belong, and because the changes are small, you barely notice them. But years later, you may wake up and realize something uncomfortable. You have built a life that looks acceptable to everyone, except yourself. This is one of the deepest conflicts in human existence, the conflict between authenticity and acceptance. A part of us wants to be free, a part of us wants to be accepted, and when those two desires collide, many people sacrifice themselves to keep the approval of others. Why? Because acceptance feels like proof that we are valuable, proof that we matter, proof that we are not alone. But the problem begins when we confuse acceptance with identity. A person says, if people respect me, then I am worthy. If people admire me, then I am successful. If people choose me, then I have value. But this creates a dangerous situation, because now your worth is placed in the hands of people who can change their minds at any moment. Imagine building your house on someone else's land. You may decorate it beautifully. You may spend years improving it, but the owner can take it away whenever they want. That is what happens when your identity depends on external approval. You are constantly waiting for permission to feel enough. This is why some people achieve everything they once dreamed of, yet still feel empty. They reached the mountain top, but they climbed the wrong mountain. They achieved the goal society gave them, but they never asked whether it was their own goal. There are people who spend years chasing careers they do not love, not because they are incapable of changing, but because they fear judgment. They think, what will people say if I leave? What will my family think? What if others believe I failed? So they remain in a life that feels wrong, simply because it looks right from the outside. The Stoics would consider this a misunderstanding of freedom. Most people think freedom means having everything they want, more money, more recognition, more influence. But the Stoics saw freedom differently. Freedom is not getting everything you desire. Freedom is not needing everything you desire in order to be at peace. A person controlled by praise is not free. A person controlled by criticism is not free, because both are still controlled by something outside themselves. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, lived surrounded by power, admiration, and criticism. He understood something many people today forget. A person can have everything the world offers and still be a prisoner of the mind. The battlefield is not always outside. Sometimes the greatest battle is between who you truly are and who you are trying to convince others you are. Consider a young artist. Since childhood, she loved painting. She found peace in creating. When she painted, time disappeared. But as she grew older, she heard voices. That is not a realistic career. You should choose something more respectable. You need something stable. Slowly, she stopped painting, not because she stopped loving it, but because she started fearing judgment more than she valued her passion. Years later, she became successful in another field. People admired her. Her family was proud. Everyone thought she had chosen wisely. But sometimes, when she saw someone painting freely, she felt a strange sadness, not because she failed, but because she abandoned a part of herself to satisfy an invisible audience. This story is not only about art, it happens everywhere. People abandon dreams, they hide personalities, they silence opinions, they ignore their own instincts, all because they are afraid of being judged. The irony is, the people we try so hard to impress are often not thinking about us as much as we imagine. Everyone is fighting their own battles. Everyone is carrying their own worries. Everyone is trying to manage their own image. Yet we spend enormous energy managing ours. It is like standing on a stage where the audience is mostly empty, but still performing with all our strength. Why do humans do this? Because the mind creates imaginary observers, even when nobody is watching. We imagine they are. We imagine their reactions. We imagine their criticism. We imagine their disappointment. And eventually, we become prisoners of an audience that exists mostly inside our own thoughts. The Stoic approach is not to become careless. It is not to ignore everyone. Wisdom is not, I do not care about anything. Wisdom is, I care about the right things. A wise person listens, but does not surrender. A wise person accepts advice, but does not abandon judgment. A wise person respects others, but does not become owned by their opinions. There is a difference between humility and insecurity. Humility says, I can learn from others. Insecurity says, I need others to tell me who I am. One creates growth, the other creates dependence. The challenge is learning to stand in the middle, to remain open without being controlled, to receive feedback without losing yourself, to care without becoming a prisoner, because the world will always offer opinions. Some will be useful, some will be harmful, some will come from wisdom, some will come from jealousy, some will come from love, some will come from someone, some will come from someone. The sown mature person learns to separate them, like a gardener choosing which seeds to plant. Not every seed deserves soil. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Your mind is a garden, and whatever you repeatedly allow inside eventually grows. If you plant fear, fear grows. If you plant resentment, resentment grows. If you plant awareness, strength grows. The question is, who is choosing what enters your garden? Are you? Or are you allowing every passing voice to plant something inside you? Because the moment you begin choosing consciously, you begin taking back your freedom. And that is where the next question appears. If other people's opinions have so much power over us, why do we allow them to control us in the first place?
There is a reason why a simple rejection can hurt more than we expect. A message left unanswered. A person walking away. A group excluding us. A criticism from someone whose opinion matters. Logically, we know these moments are not the end of the world. We know we can survive. We know tomorrow will come. Yet something inside us reacts as if something much bigger has happened. The heart feels heavy. The mind starts searching for answers. What did I do wrong? Why was I not enough? What is wrong with me? This reaction is not random. It comes from something deeply rooted inside human psychology. The human mind was not originally designed only for comfort. It was designed for survival. Thousands of years ago, being accepted by a group was not simply about feeling good. It was about staying alive. A person alone in the wilderness was vulnerable. A person separated from the group had fewer resources, less protection, and fewer chances of survival. So the human brain developed a powerful system: the desire to belong. The same system that once helped humans survive still exists today. But the environment has changed. A person today may not be rejected from a tribe. They may not face physical danger. But the mind can still interpret social rejection as a serious threat. This is why a person can feel deep pain from something as simple as being ignored. The event may be small, but the meaning attached to it can be enormous. A person does not just think. They did not reply. The mind adds, they do not value me. I am not important. I am being abandoned. The pain does not come only from the event. It comes from the story created around the event. This is where human beings often become trapped. We do not only experience life, we interpret life. Two people can experience the same situation and feel completely different emotions. Imagine two people lose a job. The first person thinks, this proves I am a failure. The second person thinks, this is painful, but it is an opportunity to choose a different direction. Same event, different interpretation, different reality. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. They believed the mind has the power to either magnify suffering or transform it into wisdom. Epictetus taught that we should examine our impressions before accepting them as truth. An impression is the first reaction of the mind. Something happens. The mind immediately creates meaning. Someone criticizes you. The first impression, they are attacking me. But wisdom asks, is that actually true? Maybe they are wrong. Maybe they are projecting their own insecurity. Maybe there is something useful to learn. Maybe there is nothing to take personally. The Stoic does not react immediately. The Stoic examines. This is a powerful difference. An uncontrolled mind reacts. A disciplined mind responds. Many people live their entire lives reacting. Someone praises them. They become happy. Someone criticizes them. They become miserable. Someone approves. They feel valuable. Someone rejects. They question their existence. Their emotional state becomes a mirror reflecting everyone around them. But a mirror has no control over what appears in front of it. The Stoics wanted something different. They wanted the human being to become the source of their own stability. Not because other people do not matter, but because no external thing should have complete authority over your inner world. Imagine a tree. A strong tree experiences wind. It experiences rain. It experiences storms. But it does not ask the weather for permission to stand. Its strength comes from its roots. Human beings are the same. Without inner roots, every opinion becomes a storm. A compliment becomes sunlight. A criticism becomes lightning. A rejection becomes a hurricane. But with strong roots, the weather changes, but the tree remains. This is the kind of inner stability the Stoics practiced. Not becoming emotionless, not becoming cold, but becoming someone who feels deeply without being destroyed easily. There is a misunderstanding about strength. Many people think strong people do not care, but that is not true. A strong person can care deeply. A strong person can love. A strong person can feel disappointment. The difference is, they do not surrender their entire identity to those emotions. They experience the emotion. They learn from it. Then they return to themselves. Now think about how many decisions people make because of fear of rejection. Someone does not speak honestly.
Someone stays in a relationship that hurts them. Someone avoids a dream. Someone refuses an opportunity. Not because they lack ability, but because they fear the judgment that may come afterward. And this is one of the saddest forms of suffering. Not failing. Not losing. Not being rejected. But never trying because you are afraid of what people might think. A person can survive failure, but it is much harder to live with the question, what could I have become if I was not afraid? The opinion of others is powerful because humans are emotional creatures. We are not machines. We need connection. We need love. We need belonging. But the lesson is not to destroy that need. The lesson is to place it in the right position. Connection should enrich your life. It should not become the foundation of your identity. Love should be a gift, not a prison. Respect should be appreciated, not worshipped. Approval should be enjoyed, not required. Because the moment you require everyone's approval, you create an impossible task. You are asking the entire world to agree with one version of you. But even you are constantly changing. You are learning, you are evolving, you are becoming. So why expect everyone else to have a permanent opinion of you? The person who judges you today may not understand who you become tomorrow. And that is why your life cannot be built around their temporary perception. The Stoic question is not, how do I make everyone see my value? The deeper question is, do I know my value even when nobody sees it? Because the greatest freedom begins when you stop begging the world to confirm your existence. You begin to live, not as a performance, not as a request for approval, but as a person who understands. My worth is not created by applause, and it is not destroyed by silence.
There is a type of prison that has no walls, no locked doors, no guards, no chains. Yet millions of people live inside it every day. It is the prison of expectations. A person wakes up, goes to work, builds a career, buys things, chases achievements, maintains an image. From the outside, everything looks normal, maybe even successful. But inside, a quiet question remains. Is this really the life I wanted? This question is uncomfortable because sometimes the answer is not what we want to hear. Many people are not living according to their own values. They are living according to a script they inherited. A script written by society, by family, by culture, by the opinions of people around them. The script says, this is what success looks like. This is when you should be happy. This is what makes you valuable. And without questioning it, people follow. They chase the same things, the same symbols, the same definitions. A bigger house, a better title, more recognition, more status. But the Stoics would ask, are these things truly good, or have you simply been taught to desire them? This is a powerful question, because human beings often confuse what is popular with what is meaningful. Something being desired by many people does not automatically make it valuable. A crowd can move in one direction and still be walking toward the wrong place. Imagine a person standing in a crowded street. Everyone around him is running. He starts running too. Not because he knows where they are going, but because everyone else is moving. After some time, he stops and asks, why am I running? This happens in life. People pursue careers because everyone says they are impressive. They chase money because everyone says money equals success. They seek attention because everyone says visibility equals importance. But they rarely stop and ask, does this actually create a meaningful life for me? The need for approval can make people abandon their own judgment. They begin to measure their lives using someone else's ruler. A person looks at another person's success and feels behind. They compare their beginning to someone else's middle. They compare their struggles to someone else's highlight. And slowly they become dissatisfied with a life that may actually be good. Comparison is one of the strongest ways opinions control us, because comparison creates an imaginary competition, a competition where the rules keep changing. There will always be someone richer, someone more attractive, someone more talented, someone more recognized. If your peace depends on being ahead of everyone, you will never rest, because there is always another person to surpass. The Stoics understood that external achievements are unstable foundations. They did not say success is meaningless. They did not say ambition is wrong. They simply warned, do not place your happiness in things that can be taken away. A person can lose wealth, lose reputation, lose position, lose the approval of others. If their entire identity is built on those things, they lose themselves. But if their identity is built on character, something deeper remains. A person who values honesty can remain honest even when nobody rewards them. A person who values courage can remain courageous even when nobody applauds. A person who values wisdom can continue learning even when nobody notices. This is the difference between living from the inside and living from the outside. Living from the outside means I am successful because people say I am. I am valuable because people recognize me. I am important because people pay attention. Living from the inside means I know what I stand for. I know what kind of person I want to become. I know what matters even without applause. The second person has something the first person lacks: freedom. Not freedom from society. No human being can completely escape society, but freedom from being controlled by every expectation placed upon them. There is an old story about a man who spent his entire life building a perfect image. He wanted to be respected by everyone, so he carefully controlled everything: the way he spoke, the way he dressed, the opinions he shared. He became the person everyone admired. But one day someone asked him, "What do you personally enjoy?" He became silent because he realized he had spent so much time becoming someone others respected that he had forgotten who he was when nobody was watching. This is a tragedy many people experience. They become experts at being accepted, but strangers to themselves. The Stoic path begins with returning inward. Not selfishness, not isolation, but self-awareness. To ask, what do I truly value? What kind of person do I want to become? What choices would I make if nobody was judging me? These questions are difficult because they remove the comfort of excuses. It is easier to say, I had no choice. I had to do what people expected. I had to follow the path everyone follows. But sometimes the hardest truth is, we chose. We chose comfort over courage. We chose approval over authenticity. We chose being accepted over being honest. And acknowledging that is painful, but it is also the beginning of change, because you cannot change a life you refuse to examine. The Stoics believe that an unexamined life is a life controlled by impulse. If you never question your desires, you may spend your whole life chasing things that do not belong to you. If you never question your fears, you may spend your whole life avoiding things that could transform you. If you never question the opinions you accepted, you may spend your whole life living someone else's idea of happiness. The greatest danger is not that people judge you. They will. The greatest danger is that you allow their judgments to become your identity. Because once you do, you no longer live, you perform. And eventually every performance becomes exhausting. The path back begins with a simple realization: you were never meant to be a reflection of everyone else's expectations. You were meant to become a person with your own mind, your own values, your own direction. Because the world does not need another person pretending to be perfect. It needs people who are honest enough to be themselves. There is a moment that almost every human being experiences. Someone says something about us. Maybe it is only one sentence. Maybe it lasts only a few seconds. But somehow, those few seconds stay in our minds for hours, sometimes even years. A person says, "You are not good enough. You made a mistake. You should have done better." And suddenly, something inside us reacts. Not just the mind, the identity. Because criticism often feels like more than information. It feels like a judgment of who we are. This is where many people become trapped. They hear, "I made a mistake," but the mind translates it into, "I am a mistake." They hear, "I can improve this," but they interpret, "I am not valuable." The pain does not come only from the words. It comes from the meaning we attach to them. This is one of the most important things to understand about human psychology. People do not simply protect their actions, they protect their identity. When someone criticizes an action, many people feel as if their entire existence is being questioned. Why? Because humans naturally want a stable sense of self. We want to believe, "I know who I am." So when something challenges that image, the mind creates resistance. Imagine building a house. You spend years creating it. You paint the walls, you decorate the rooms. You become attached to it. Then someone comes and points out a crack in one wall. A wise person examines the crack. Maybe it needs repair, but someone who identifies completely with the house feels attacked. They think they are not criticizing the wall, they are attacking me. This is how many people respond to criticism. They do not separate the observation from their identity. The Stoics practiced the opposite. They believed a person should always examine themselves, not with hatred, not with self-punishment, but with honesty. A Stoic asks, is there truth in this? Not, why did they hurt my feelings? Because emotions can be useful signals, but they are not always accurate judges. A person can feel offended and still be wrong. A person can feel attacked and still have something to learn. This does not mean every criticism is correct. Some criticism comes from wisdom, some comes from ignorance, some comes from kindness, some comes from insecurity. The mature person learns to separate them. Imagine you are walking through a forest. Someone tells you, you are going in the wrong direction. There are two possibilities. Maybe they are lost themselves. Maybe they are trying to mislead you. Or maybe they see something you cannot see. The wise traveler does not immediately become angry. The wise traveler checks the map. This is how we should approach criticism, not with automatic acceptance, not with automatic rejection, with examination. The problem is that many people give strangers too much power. A person they barely know says something negative, and suddenly that person becomes the authority over their worth. Why? Because deep inside, many people already carry doubts. Criticism becomes painful when it touches a wound that already exists. Someone who secretly believes they are not attractive will be deeply affected by comments about appearance. Someone who secretly believes they are not capable will be destroyed by failure. Someone who secretly believes they are unworthy will constantly search for proof. The outside voice hurts because it connects with an inside voice. This is why inner work matters. If you do not understand yourself, the world will define you. Every opinion becomes a piece of the puzzle. Every comment becomes evidence. Every reaction becomes a measurement of your value. But when you know yourself, something changes. You can hear criticism without becoming destroyed. You can say, maybe there is something I can learn, or maybe this person is simply expressing their perspective. Either way, you remain centered. This is the strength the Stoics tried to develop, not the strength to never feel pain. That is impossible, but the strength to avoid unnecessary suffering. Pain is part of being human, but suffering often comes from the stories we create around pain. A person criticizes you. The pain is the moment. The suffering is replaying it for months. The pain is hearing the words. The suffering is allowing those words to become your identity. This distinction changes everything. There is an old story about a young student who approached a Stoic teacher. The student said, "People insult me. How can I stop being affected?" The teacher answered, "If someone gives you a gift and you refuse to accept it, who owns the gift?" The student replied, "The person who gave it." The teacher said, "Then when someone gives you anger, hatred, or insults, and you refuse to accept them, who owns them?" This is a powerful idea. Other people can offer opinions, but you decide what you carry. Not every word deserves a home inside your mind. Your mind is valuable. It is the place where your thoughts live, your dreams exist, your decisions are formed. Why allow every passing comment to enter and rearrange everything? A person standing outside your house can shout anything, but you do not have to invite them inside. The same applies to criticism. You can listen, you can learn, you can improve, but you do not have to surrender yourself, because the goal is not to become someone who never receives criticism. The goal is to become someone who can receive criticism without losing inner peace. That is true emotional strength. The world will continue to judge. People will continue to speak. Opinions will continue to exist. The question is not, how do I stop people from judging me? The question is, can I remain myself even when judgment appears? Because when you can answer yes, you are no longer controlled by the outside world. You have returned to yourself. There comes a moment in life when a person realizes something important. The greatest battle is not always against the world outside. Sometimes, the greatest battle is the one happening inside. A person can change their environment. They can move to another place. They can leave certain people behind. They can avoid certain situations. But wherever they go, they still carry their own mind with them. And if the mind is not disciplined, even a peaceful environment can feel like a battlefield. This is why the Stoics focused so deeply on inner control. They understood something that remains true today. You cannot create a peaceful life if your mind is constantly controlled by external events. Imagine two people standing in the same storm. The rain falls on both. The wind touches both. The circumstances are identical. But one person remains calm. The other becomes overwhelmed. What creates the difference? Not always the situation. Often it is the relationship they have with the situation. The Stoics believed that between an event and our reaction, there is a space, a small space, but within that space exists our freedom. Something happens. Then comes our interpretation. Then comes our response. Most people skip the middle. Something happens. They immediately react. Someone insults them. They become angry. Someone rejects them. They collapse. Someone disagrees. They feel threatened. The event controls them because they never pause long enough to choose their response. The Stoic practice is different. When something happens, ask, what part of this belongs to me? If someone speaks badly about you, can you control their words? No. Can you control whether they understand you? No. Can you control your response? Yes. This simple distinction creates a different kind of person. A person who understands control does not waste energy fighting impossible battles. They do not spend years trying to force everyone to like them. They do not chase every rumor. They do not respond to every attack. Not because they are weak, because they understand the value of their attention. Attention is one of the most powerful resources a human being has. Whatever receives your attention grows. If you constantly focus on criticism, criticism becomes bigger. If you constantly focus on what people think, their opinions become louder. If you constantly focus on what you cannot control, you slowly forget what you can control. The Stoics saw attention as a form of ownership. Where your attention goes, your life follows. This is why a person can lose freedom without anyone physically imprisoning them. Their body is free, but their mind is occupied. Occupied by, what are they saying about me? Do they respect me? Do they think I failed? They are living in a mental courtroom. Every day they put themselves on trial. They become the defendant. They become the judge. They become the person waiting for a verdict. And the worst part, the courtroom never closes. The Stoic path is learning to leave that courtroom, not because you stop caring, but because you realize you are not required to attend every trial created by your own thoughts. There is an ancient Stoic idea. The person who controls themselves is stronger than the person who controls others. Many people seek power over the outside world. They want influence. They want recognition. They want authority. But they cannot control their own emotions. They can command others, but they cannot command themselves. The Stoics saw this as a weakness, because true power begins internally. A person who can remain calm when insulted has power. A person who can remain focused when ignored has power. A person who can continue their path without applause has power. Not because they are unaffected, but because they are not owned by their reactions. Consider a musician preparing for a performance. Before stepping onto the stage, he hears someone say, "You are not talented enough." There are two possible paths. The first, he believes the voice. He enters the stage carrying fear. Every mistake becomes proof that the critic was right. The second, he acknowledges the comment. He examines it. Maybe there is something to improve. Maybe there is nothing useful. Then he returns his focus to what he can control. His preparation, his effort, his performance. Same words, different response. This is the essence of Stoic discipline. The world will always provide noise. The question is whether you allow the noise to become your direction. A ship cannot control the waves, but it can control its navigation. A tree cannot control the storm, but it can strengthen its roots. A human cannot control every opinion, but they can strengthen their character.
And character is where Stoicism places importance. Not reputation. Character. Because reputation belongs to others. Character belongs to you. Reputation can change overnight. A rumor can damage it. A misunderstanding can affect it. A crowd can turn against you. But character is built through repeated choices. How you act when nobody sees. How you respond when challenged. How you treat people when you gain nothing from it. That is yours. This is why the Stoics cared less about appearing good and more about becoming good. Because appearance depends on observers, but character depends on you. The person controlled by opinions asks, "How do I look?" The person guided by wisdom asks, "Am I living according to my values?" Those are two completely different lives. One is a performance. The other is a practice. The journey toward freedom is not about escaping all judgment. That is impossible. It is about building a mind strong enough that judgment no longer decides your identity. A person with inner control can walk through praise without becoming arrogant, and walk through criticism without becoming broken. They understand something deeper. People's opinions are temporary, but the relationship you have with yourself is something you carry your entire life. So protect that relationship. Do not let every voice outside become the voice inside. Because once you learn to govern your own mind, the world loses the ability to control you. And that is where true independence begins.
There is a misunderstanding about freedom. Many people think freedom means needing nobody. They believe strength means becoming completely independent, never caring, never feeling, never needing anyone. But that is not wisdom. That is often just another form of fear. A human being is not designed to live without connection. We need relationships. We need love. We need friendship. We need people who understand us. The Stoics were not teaching people to become cold. They were teaching people to become balanced. There is a difference between loving someone and losing yourself inside them. There is a difference between caring about someone's opinion and allowing their opinion to define your existence. This difference is called detachment. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you care without becoming controlled. Imagine holding a flower. If you hold it gently, you allow it to exist. But if you squeeze it too tightly because you are afraid of losing it, you destroy the very thing you wanted to protect. Many people do this with relationships. They become so afraid of losing someone's approval that they stop being themselves. They constantly adjust. They constantly apologize. They constantly seek reassurance. Not because they are weak, but because they believe losing acceptance means losing their value. This is where attachment becomes a prison. A person says, "I need them to stay. I need them to choose me. I need them to see my worth." But when your peace depends on another person's choice, you give them control over something they were never meant to own: your identity. The Stoics understood the temporary nature of everything, not in a pessimistic way, but in a realistic way. Everything changes. People change. Situations change. Relationships change. This is not a reason to avoid love. It is a reason to appreciate it while it exists. A person who understands impermanence loves differently. They do not love from desperation. They love from gratitude. They do not say, "I cannot live without you." They say, "I appreciate that our paths meet, but I remain whole within myself." This is a powerful shift, because many people confuse love with possession. They believe, if I love something, I must control it. But real love does not require control. A tree does not force a bird to stay on its branch. The bird stays because the branch provides safety. The moment the branch tries to trap the bird escapes.
Relationships work the same way. The strongest connections are not built from fear. They are built from freedom. The Stoics often reflected on the idea that everything we have is temporary. Not to make us sad, but to make us grateful. When you understand that nothing is guaranteed, you stop taking things for granted. You stop demanding. You start appreciating. You stop asking, how can I make this person prove my worth? You start asking, how can I be present while this moment exists? This changes everything. Now think about approval. Many people do not actually want love. They want confirmation. They want someone to say, you are enough. You matter. You are special. And there is nothing wrong with hearing those words. But if you cannot say them to yourself, you will spend your life searching for someone else to say them. You become dependent on external mirrors. A mirror can show you reflection, but it cannot create you. Other people can recognize your value, but they cannot create your value. That already exists. This is why self-respect is so important. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is the ability to stand with yourself even when the crowd walks away. A person with self-respect can accept rejection without losing dignity. They can hear, I do not choose you, and still respond internally. That hurts, but it does not reduce my worth. This is emotional maturity. The Stoics would say, do not demand that reality obey your wishes. People will disappoint you. They will misunderstand you. They will sometimes leave. That is part of being human. The suffering begins when we create the belief, this should never happen. We fight reality, but reality does not negotiate. A wise person does not waste life arguing with what already happened. They ask, what can I learn? What can I do now? How can I respond with dignity? This is detachment. Not running away, not becoming careless. Simply understanding the boundary between what belongs to you and what belongs to others. Your kindness belongs to you. Their response belongs to them. Your honesty belongs to you. Their reaction belongs to them. Your effort belongs to you. Their recognition belongs to them. When you understand this, you become lighter, because you stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours. You were never responsible for making everyone understand you. You were never responsible for making everyone appreciate you. You were never responsible for making everyone choose you. Your responsibility is to live according to your values. And if someone recognizes that, be grateful. If someone does not, continue anyway. Because a person who depends on applause will always fear silence. But a person who knows themselves can walk through silence peacefully. They do not need every room to welcome them. They do not need every person to understand them. They do not need every voice to approve. They carry their own approval within. And that is a different kind of freedom. The freedom to love without losing yourself. The freedom to care without becoming controlled. The freedom to exist without constantly asking permission. Because the goal of life is not to become someone everyone accepts. The goal is to become someone you can respect when you are alone.
There is a painful truth about becoming yourself. The moment you stop trying to please everyone, some people will misunderstand you. This is one of the hardest lessons for human beings to accept. Because deep inside, many people believe, if I am good enough, everyone will understand me. But life does not work that way. You can be kind and still be disliked. You can be honest and still be criticized. You can do the right thing and still be judged. This is not a failure. This is reality. The problem begins when we create an impossible goal to be accepted by everyone. Think about it. How can every person have the same opinion about you? People see the world through their own experiences, their own fears, their own beliefs, their own expectations. The same action can be interpreted differently by different people. One person sees confidence. Another sees arrogance. One person sees honesty. Another sees harshness. One person sees independence. Another sees distance. You are not only being judged by who you are. You are being judged through the lens of another person's mind, and that lens belongs to them. This is why chasing universal approval is impossible. You are trying to solve a problem that has no solution. The Stoics understood this. They did not aim to be loved by everyone. They aimed to live according to virtue. Because popularity changes. Public opinion changes. Human emotions change. But character is something you build from within. Imagine an ancient statue carved from stone. A sculptor does not create it by asking every person passing by, "Do you like this shape? Should I remove this part?" Would everyone approve? If the sculptor did that, the statue would never be completed. At some point, the sculptor must trust the vision. Life is similar. You cannot build yourself while constantly asking the world for permission. You need your own principles, your own direction, your own understanding. This does not mean ignoring all advice. A wise person listens. A stubborn person refuses everything. The difference is that wisdom can receive information without surrendering control. A person can say, "Thank you for your opinion," without saying, "Your opinion decides who I am." That distinction creates freedom. Now consider how many people hide parts of themselves. They hide their dreams. They hide their interests. They hide their beliefs. They hide their personality. Not because those things are wrong, but because they fear rejection. They ask, "What if people laugh? What if they judge me? What if they do not accept me?" And slowly, they trade authenticity for approval. But there is a cost. When you constantly hide yourself, you create a distance between who you are and who you show. And that distance creates exhaustion, because pretending requires energy. You have to remember what version of yourself you showed to different people. You become a different person in every room. One personality with friends, another at work, another online, another with family. Eventually you ask, which one is actually me? The Stoic path is the return to simplicity, not pretending, not performing, not exaggerating, just becoming someone whose inner world and outer actions are aligned. A person who lives this way may lose some approval, but they gain something more valuable: peace. Because peace comes from alignment. When your actions match your values, you no longer need constant external confirmation. You know why you do what you do. There is an old story about a man who carried a heavy bag everywhere he went. People asked, "Why do you carry that?" He answered, "Because I am afraid of what people will say if I put it down." The people looked confused. "What is inside the bag?" The man opened it. Inside was nothing. The bag was empty. He had been carrying the weight of imaginary judgment. Many people do the same. They carry fears of conversations that never happen. They carry criticism from people who are not even thinking about them. They carry expectations they never agreed to. And years pass. The question is, how much of your life has been spent carrying an empty bag? The courage to be disliked is not about wanting people to dislike you. It is about accepting that you cannot prevent it. You are not trying to become hated. You are simply refusing to make approval your master. A person who understands this becomes calmer. They stop explaining every decision. They stop defending every choice. They stop chasing every misunderstanding. Because they understand something. Not every person deserves a place in your inner world. Some opinions are invitations to grow. Others are invitations to lose yourself. Wisdom is knowing the difference. There is another important lesson here. When you become comfortable with being misunderstood, you become more capable of creating something meaningful. Every person who creates something different faces criticism. Every person who walks a different path faces doubt. A new idea is often rejected before it is understood. If everyone's approval was required before progress could happen, nothing new would ever exist. The
The world changes because some people have the courage to continue even when others do not understand. This applies not only to achievements, it applies to personal growth. Sometimes becoming healthier means disappointing people who preferred the old version of you. Sometimes becoming honest means losing relationships built on pretending. Sometimes becoming peaceful means leaving environments that depended on your chaos. Growth changes your relationship with approval. You stop asking, will everyone like this? And you start asking, is this aligned with the person I want to become? That question is much more powerful, because at the end of life, you will not live with everyone's opinions. You will live with yourself. When the noise disappears, when the crowd leaves, when nobody is watching, you will meet the person you became. And the deepest question will not be, how many people approved of me? The deepest question will be, did I have the courage to live honestly? Because a life built entirely around being liked may be accepted by many, but a life built on truth can finally belong to you.
A person who is unaffected does not care. They disconnect. They avoid. They become numb. But a person who is unshakable is different. They feel. They care. They experience emotions. But they are not controlled by every emotion that appears. This is the kind of strength the Stoics pursued. Not the absence of storms, but the ability to remain steady while the storm exists. Many people spend their lives trying to create a perfect external world. They want everyone to respect them. They want every relationship to go smoothly. They want every effort to be recognized. But the world does not make promises like that. People will misunderstand you. People will judge you. People will sometimes leave. The question is not whether these things happen. They will. The question is, who are you when they happen? A fragile mind says, if they reject me, I lose my value. A disciplined mind says, rejection hurts, but it does not define me. The difference is not the absence of pain. The difference is perspective. A mountain does not become a mountain because the weather is calm. It remains a mountain during storms. Its identity does not come from the weather. In the same way, your identity should not come from temporary opinions. Praise is temporary. Criticism is temporary. Success is temporary. Failure is temporary. But the character you build through how you respond, that becomes part of you. This is why the Stoics focused so much on character. They understood that external things are always unstable. Money can disappear. Status can disappear. Recognition can disappear. But wisdom, courage, discipline, and integrity are internal possessions. They are harder to steal. A
person who builds their life on external approval is always afraid. Because anything that gives them value can also take it away. But a person who builds from within has a different foundation. They can lose something without losing themselves. They can experience failure without becoming failure. They can hear criticism without becoming the criticism. This is emotional independence. Think about a tree in a forest. Two trees stand side by side. One has roots that only spread across the surface. The other has roots that grow deep into the earth. When the storm comes, both experience the wind. Both experience the rain. But their response is different. The first tree struggles because it depends on the surface. The second tree remains because it is connected to something deeper. Humans are the same. If your confidence comes from applause, you will collapse when the applause stops. If your peace comes from being understood, you will suffer whenever someone misunderstands you. If your happiness depends on everyone choosing you, you will always fear being left. But if your foundation comes from self-knowledge, you become harder to shake. The Stoics called this inner stability. It does not mean you never question yourself. Actually, a wise person questions themselves often. But there is a difference between reflection and self-destruction. Reflection asks, what can I improve? Self-destruction asks, what is wrong with me? One creates growth. The other creates suffering. A person with inner strength does not ignore mistakes. They learn from them. They can admit, I was wrong, without believing, I am worthless. This is a powerful distinction. Because many people avoid growth because they think admitting weakness will reduce their value. But the opposite is true. Only a secure person can honestly examine themselves. A person who is controlled by ego must always defend, must always prove, always explain, always win. But a person who knows themselves does not need to win every argument. They choose peace over pride. They understand that not every battle deserves their energy. There is a story about a philosopher who was insulted in public. The people around him expected anger. They expected a response. But he remained calm. Someone asked, "Why did you not answer him?" The philosopher replied,
If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, who owns the gift? The person answered, the giver. He said, then I refuse to accept his anger. This is a powerful image. Every day people offer us emotional gifts. Anger, judgment, negativity. But we do not have to accept everything handed to us. A person who is unshakable chooses what enters their mind. They become careful with their attention. Because attention is energy. Where you place it determines what grows inside you. If you spend every day analyzing who dislikes you, you create a life centered around rejection. If you spend every day building yourself, you create a life centered around growth. The outside world may remain the same, but your inner world changes. And that changes everything. The ultimate goal is not becoming someone who nobody can hurt. That person does not exist. The goal is becoming someone who can experience pain without losing direction. Someone who can fall and rise.
There is a moment in every person's journey when they begin to understand something deeply. A realization that cannot be forced. A realization that usually comes after years of searching, struggling, and trying to prove something. The realization is this: you were never meant to spend your entire life convincing the world that you deserve to exist. From the beginning, humans search for approval. We want to be seen. We want to be valued. We want someone to say, "You are enough." And there is nothing wrong with wanting connection. There is nothing wrong with wanting to love. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be appreciated. But there comes a point where we must ask, how much of myself am I willing to sacrifice just to be accepted? Because acceptance has a hidden price when we depend on it too much. The price is authenticity. A person can spend years becoming what others expect, only to discover that the person they created was never truly them. They followed the rules. They achieved what was expected. They impressed the people around them. But inside, there is a quiet emptiness. Not because they failed, but because they abandoned the one person they were supposed to understand, themselves. This is the final lesson of the Stoic path. The journey is not about becoming someone who is above everyone else. It is not about becoming someone who does not need anyone. It is about becoming someone who is no longer controlled by everything outside themselves. A person can enjoy praise, but they do not depend on it. A person can receive criticism, but they do not collapse because of it. A person can love others, but they do not lose themselves trying to keep them. This is balance. And balance is where freedom exists. Think about a musician playing a song. A beginner constantly looks at the audience. They wonder, do they like me? Are they impressed? Am I doing well? Because their attention is outside themselves. But a master musician becomes absorbed in the music. They are not ignoring the audience. They simply understand that the quality of the music comes from their connection with the craft. Life is similar.
When you constantly watch people's reactions, you lose connection with your own path. You begin performing instead of living. The Stoics would remind us, you are responsible for your actions, not for everyone's interpretation of your actions. You can be misunderstood. That is possible. You can be judged unfairly. That is possible. You can be disliked by people who never truly knew you. That is possible. But none of these things determine your character. Only your choices do. A person who understands this becomes lighter. They stop carrying unnecessary explanations. They no longer feel the need to prove every decision. They no longer chase every misunderstanding. They realize that peace is too valuable to trade for every opinion. There is a story about a wise old man who was criticized by many people. Someone asked him, "How can you remain calm when so many people speak badly about you?" The old man smiled and said, "If someone tells me I am a tree, should I become angry? Their words do not change what I am." The lesson is simple. Other people's words describe their perception. They do not create your reality. A person may call you weak, but if you are developing courage, their words do not change your progress. A person may call you a failure, but if you are learning and growing, their words do not define your journey. A person may misunderstand your silence, but if your intention is clear, you do not need every person to understand. This is the maturity of the Stoic mind. It chooses truth over approval. Because approval can be addictive. The more you chase it, the more you need. It is like drinking salt water. The more you consume, the thirstier you become. A person who constantly seeks validation is never satisfied. One compliment is not enough. One achievement is not enough. One success is not enough. Because the problem was never a lack of recognition. The problem was the belief that recognition creates worth. But worth is not something the world gives you. The world can recognize it. The world can ignore it. The world can misunderstand it. But your existence is not dependent on the world's agreement. A tree does not ask permission to grow. A river does not ask permission to flow. A sunrise does not ask permission to appear. Nature simply follows its purpose. Perhaps humans suffer because they forget this. They spend too much time asking, "Am I accepted?" instead of asking, "Am I becoming who I am meant to become?" The first question depends on others. The second depends on you. And only one of them is within your control. This does not mean you stop caring about others. A person who truly understands themselves often becomes more compassionate. Because when you no longer need to prove yourself, you no longer need to compete with everyone. You can celebrate someone else's success without feeling smaller. You can accept someone else's opinion without feeling threatened. You can walk your own path without needing everyone to walk with you. This is the quiet strength of inner freedom. A person who has found themselves does not need to announce it. They do not need to constantly prove they are confident. They simply live. Calmly, honestly, intentionally. At the end of life, the question will not be, "How many people approved of me?" The question will not be, "How many people admired me?" The question will not be, how many people thought I was successful? The deeper question will be, did I have the courage to live as myself? Did I choose my path? Did I protect my peace? Did I act according to my values? Did I spend my life chasing approval? Or building character? Because the world's opinion is always moving. Today's praise can become tomorrow's silence. Today's criticism can become tomorrow's forgotten memory. But the person you become through your choices, that remains. So do not spend your entire life standing outside yourself, waiting for permission to enter. Come back to yourself. Learn your values. Protect your mind. Choose your responses. And remember, the moment you stop needing the world to confirm your worth, the world loses its power over you. That is the final freedom. Not being loved by everyone. Not being understood by everyone. Not being admired by everyone. But being at peace with yourself. Even when the world is not.